Hi, I'm just going to show you now how to unpack a bicycle when you get it and how to put it together. So first of all, get the carton in a bit of an open space, and I'll slip the carton down the top and down the two ends so that the cardboard's spread right out and provides a nice surface to work on where the bike's not going to get scratched. Okay, so that's it really. You can stop that and they'll see it after I've finished. Okay, so that's how we spread the cardboard out, and then you can start to unpack the bike. It's got a very big bag over the top of it, and just go through it and clip all the cable ties open, and also you can take the box of small parts here, take these parts and put them off to the side. So now you can see I've taken most of the wrapping and the cable ties off the bike and freed up the front wheel. So now the next thing is to put the front wheel on. So this is attached to the front wheel axle spokes is the axle. So you need to undo the cable tie that's holding that on, and then we'll put it on. So you've got to unscrew one end and take the spring off as well, off one end and off that end, and then you need to take these protectors out of the axle hole. You can see that is up that hole, and there's another one on the other side. We have to push that out because there's nothing to grab it from. So if you'll see now, I'll push it out. There it is. Got that out, and now that's all ready to put on the bike. So now I'll put on the other side the conical spring with the narrow end facing inwards. These springs are merely to make it easy to put the wheel on the bike. It keeps the nuts separated away from the wheel. Okay, so you just screw that on a little bit and it's ready to put on the bike. So now first you've got to look at which way the handlebars are around, and these are backwards, so you've got to turn them around, making sure that in doing so you're not tangling up the cables, otherwise you might have to turn it around the opposite way. Okay, this disc has to go into the brake here, so obviously it has to be on the same side as the brake calipers, and you can just slide it up and line up the axle with the forks like so, and bingo, it's on. So then you can just screw that down and tighten up the axle a bit so it's not going to fall off in a huge hurry. Okay, and now I'm basically ready to stand the frame up, stand the bike up like so. Okay, then you do a bit of final tighten on the axle here. Okay, and then once you've got it so where it's starting to tighten up, back it off a little bit, maybe 2 turns, and no, maybe less than 2 turns. Swivel it around. So that's now starting to feel tighter. So you pull it like that to make it loose, and then when it's just about feeling like it's about to tighten up, then you can pull this up now and really tighten it properly. So the idea with this is that when you push it up, it should be tight enough to make a bit of a depression in the palm of your hand. So it's still not quite there. Try that. Still not. Okay, how's that? Yes. Okay, yep, little bit of mark. Okay, so that's great. We've got our front wheel on, which means we can now put the stand up and start to work on the bike standing up. Okay, so now we can look in our small parts box, and you can see we've got the headlight there, and we've got the pedals and a toolkit. And in the toolkit you'll find these things, these Allen keys they're called, and I think it's a medium-sized one that we can use for putting the front mudguard on. So, and to do that also we want the headlight as well, putting on the same screw. So you'll find the screw here, and that screw there needs to be undone. And what I do is I put the light on behind, because even though it doesn't fit very well, it puts pressure on this kinked bit here and makes the light much more stable, whereas if you put it on the front it's liable to wobble around like crazy. Okay, so now I'm just putting on the front mudguard. Now I've put the front mudguard on first, then the headlight over the top of that, and then finally the nut on after that. Okay, now you can see that as I tighten that up, that really makes it nice and tight. I'll tighten that up later, but it's nice and tight so it won't rock around. And these two wires connect to the light. Now first of all, take the wire for the light and put it through the hole that's supporting the light, in the support of the light, so that it's sort of stabilised a bit that way. And then the red wire goes onto the front tongue down here, and the black wire goes onto the black tongue, which is right in at the back of the hinge. Okay, nice and firmly in, and maybe pull that through a little bit so that the wire's not, so that wire's sort of more or less protected a bit by going through there. Okay, so the step-through bike and the city mountain bike have got a long mudguard, and so this mudguard has to have this wire part fitted onto the 2 points on the front forks and screwed up, and also there's this screw here which is the same screw that fits the light on. And as you see, I've put the handlebar thing in under first, then the light over, and then screwed the screw in, screw the nut up there, make it nice and tight, and then you can connect the light. That's it. Okay, now we're putting the handlebars on, and we unscrew these two screws up the top here. Put the screws down where you can find them again. Now the back screw, you just have to watch out when you get it loose. See that? That piece of rubbery material goes in between there. So now we get the handlebars up, and just make sure you know they aren't tangled up here. Get them nice and open, and the bell side with the bell and the gears is on that side, and you can see the rough part on the thickest part of the handlebars. So now we'll put that bit of rubbery stuff there and put that on there, and now I wonder if I can just screw it by hand a little bit to just get it started. Yes, and then the front screw goes in. Okay, and then we just tighten that up, and of course when you get to the final tightening, make sure you get the handlebar at the angle that you like the handbrake to be at. And also come down and have a look under here, underneath the stem of the handlebars here. See that screw there? If you unscrew that, that unlatches something which enables you to then move the handlebars up or down. So this is a hidden screw that a lot of people miss, but that's very important. You can't do any adjustment. You don't loosen this at all, or these, you just move the handlebars up and down by releasing that. Now with the step-through bike and the city mountain bike, they've got what's called the quill handlebars, and the quill handlebars this is actually, I think this is what's called the quill. Anyway, the idea is that as this screws up, it gets wider and it jams itself in here. So to get this cap off, it's very tightly connected, so I think we have to cut it off. You might have to release the screw here a bit so that it comes out a bit, so that you can then start cutting it. So I'll just try cutting it a bit. very tightly put on. Oh, that's better. That's it. And so there we are, now we're ready to put it in. Okay, so you need to lower this into the bike like so, somehow, yeah, and down it goes until it reaches that point there, and then you've got to line up the wheel with the stem here, and then you need to have the handle, you need to have the stem at this sort of angle, because that then allows you to get into this hole here, right? Because if the stem is up at a different angle, you can't get down to the screw. The screw is down here. That's going to tighten it up, tighten it up down here. So I put this large Allen key in here, get it engaged, and then screw it in, and that's pulling that block up and locking it. Okay, so I'm just lining up the wheel a little bit better, as I can feel it starting to tighten up. And now, just to be really sure, I'll grab some pliers and grab it like that and give it a bit of a nice hard turn. So now it's really tight. So now you see that it works, the handlebars control the wheel. So then the next step is that you want to adjust the handlebars to the right position, you know. Like I always adjust them so that my hands can easily go onto the brake like that. So if you have them like this, it's harder for your hands to get around onto the brake. So have it, I suggest having it like that. And you can get the stem up a bit at the height you like, depending on what you like. And then when you're ready, you just push this down and clip it in, and bingo, there it is. And anytime you want to adjust it, you just have to pull down this little tab in the direction of the arrow, like that, and then release that, and you can adjust the handlebars again. So it's very convenient, excellent way of doing it. Okay, so there we've taken the handlebar protective material off, and there's also a little bit of plastic you can peel off that's over the top of the gear changer. And you can see that this compass is actually a bell, and that's the bell ringer, so you can move it around so you can get your thumb onto it easily. Now the next step was to put on the seat. So the seat is pretty straightforward. I think most people know how to adjust seats. So this adjustment thing needs to be tightened enough to grab onto the seat when the lever's pushed. So line the seat up and then push that back. Now that's too tight, so it's because it's going to be end up sticking out like that. So I'll back it off a bit and unscrew it a little bit. One turn, say, and then try again. Yeah, that's still a little bit tight, so we go another turn and tighten it up. That's perfect. So you can see it's out of the way. It's not going to hit somebody if their leg brushes past it. Now this type of seat is on the step-through bike and also on the city mountain bike. You'll see it's got a little lever at the back, and you just pull that lever up and it flips the seat up. That enables you to pull the battery out, whereas on the other bikes you have to remove the seat to take the battery out. So we've got the two pedals here, and on the ends of the pedals it's got L and R for left hand side and right hand side. So we're on the left hand side of the bike here, so this one will screw in, and it will screw in the opposite way you would expect, because it's a left hand thread. So screw that in. Obviously I'm going to tighten that up, but I won't bore you with that. So, and then over the other side it's a right hand thread, and so it operates normally. In it goes. Okay, and I'm going to tighten them up because my life depends on it, so you make sure you tighten yours up too. So when you're tightening up the pedals, you'll find a spanner like that in your toolkit, and make it nice and tight. Yeah, really tight as. Okay, and so putting a mark in your palm again, and then we need to put the rear rack on. Now for that you'll need these two tools out of your toolkit, but notice how you can pull that out and turn it around and push it back in again, and you end up with a Phillips head screwdriver that way, which is what we'll need here. So these silver rods here go down. Actually, you have to loosen off that screw there to enable it to move down. That one. And loosen that nylock washer, nylock nut off. That nut is a special nut that has its own locking system when it's screwed up tight. And slide that rod through, and the rod has to come right down to this point here, so then it can move sideways there, and once it's in the right spot you can tighten up those two screws, and this one it's right down to there, so it's right close to the end there. You can pull this up to give you a bit of leeway, so there it is there, and that's horizontal. Okay, and over this side of this screw is quite difficult to undo, so I've put the spanner in here, in behind, and holding the nut, and then use the screwdriver. Nut, so I'm going to have to use a big handle screwdriver and get it loosened off. There we go. So you may have to use a bigger screwdriver than what you've got in your kit, unfortunately. But perhaps if I had loosened off that a bit more, this would have been easier to come off. So maybe loosening them off both at the same time is helpful. Yeah, so that was a very tight one. So now take them off and unscrew the nut a bit, and then that can slide through. Turn it around so it's pointing down, and now align that hole up, put the screw through and get the nut on the back. This is probably the most difficult part of the whole process actually. Okay, and screwdriver in. Well, I'll use the kit screwdriver, and on it goes. Now you might want to get a longer cable tie. This is 370mm long, just so that the rear mudguard doesn't flop around too much. I prefer to put a cable tie around it through the rear rack, like so, and that'll just keep it out of the way of the wheel, but still let it do its job of stopping the mud. One thing it's worth doing is bending the brake cable out so that there's no risk of it getting caught in any of the braking area, and you can do that same thing on the front as well. Now the next thing is to check out how the bike is going, so we put the key in and turn it on, one click, and you can see that you can press this button here and you can see that it's pretty full there, and you can come around to the front here and you can see that the battery is pretty full according to those lights here. It's on low pedal assist, and let's try the headlight. Yes, the headlight works. You see that, Lila? Okay, there's the headlight and the tail light. Yep, it works. So So now I'll just lean the bike onto its stand like that so the rear wheel goes up, and make sure this red switch here is in. If you push it comes out, push it again it goes in, and in means the throttle's turned on, so now I spin it and away it goes. Needs some air in the tyres, that's why it looks so lopsided. So that's the final thing to do, is to put some air in the tyres and take it for a test drive. But try the brakes first, make sure that the brakes work before you jump on and ride down a steep hill. Okay, so good luck with your bike and enjoy it. Thank you. So there's the bike, beautiful bike. That's the Silver Beach Cruiser.